So I did. I put it up on Airbnb like in July of 2017 for, getting ready for August. And our first booking was $4,000. So yeah, for a
How
four-night
many
stay.
nights?
4 nights.
For the
So, I mean, talk about hooked by the money, right? I was like, oh, we're in this. Like, we were sold immediately.
Welcome to Live, Let Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
and welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let
Thrive. What we see, we're already screwing up. This is Live, Let Thrive, your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, Turo, HomeAway, all that stuff, podcasts and share economy and innovation and everything in between. And we are back with episode 90.
90, man. We've been running 2 years strong.
Hey, we started from the bottom.
Yeah. So today we actually have someone from my home state of Oregon joining us by the name of Veronica. Let's give it up for Veronica.
Yay!
All right, Veronica, say something interesting.
Oh my gosh. I heard a lot of your guys' podcasts talking about regulations, and we are just like a hotbed of regulations going on around here right now.
Really?
So we just had new regulations lifted. Like, we had regulations and they got lifted last week. So it's like, it's such an exciting time for us here.
What regulations were lifted last week?
Well, so I live in a suburb. Everybody probably in any major city has one of those suburbs where it's like the hoity-toity suburb. Like, everyone's like super fancy, and I bought a house in that suburb. And so 2 years ago, they outlawed Airbnbs.
Oh.
But it just so happened that I live 2 blocks outside of the like incorporated area. So I only had to follow county rules. So I was able to do Airbnb the whole time. But the city 2 blocks from me just 100% outlawed it. And last week they lifted it, like as good as you could expect. Like, it has to be a primary resident that rents, but you can do it for as many nights a year as you want. You can rent out the whole house. Like, there's basically no restrictions as long as it's your primary residence.
Wow.
That's
Now,
awesome.
where are you located?
So I'm in Lake Oswego, Oregon, which is just south of Portland. It's like the next city down from Portland, Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Wow, they lifted all the bans on it.
Yeah, it's huge.
But it
First
still
time
has
I've
to
ever
be
heard that.
your primary residence still.
Yes, but unlike that, I think a lot of people who are Airbnb hosts saw that story from that couple in Denver, where the couple was with the primary residence, like trying to like blackmail some politician or something like that. In any case, the wording on what is going on here is actually much looser. It doesn't actually say you have to live there some specific number of nights. It just says that that's what has to be on your driver's license. So, it's new, but like it's not as like you must live there for X number of nights.
I can see Myka getting like 5 or 6 different driver's licenses over there.
Well, it would allow him to be able to do one and his wife to be able to do one at the very least. And then any, maybe adult children, or it just gives you more flexibility, I think, without it being, the city of Portland requires that you be in the house every night except for 95 nights per year. So you can rent your whole house for 95 nights per year, but the rest of the nights you have to be on premises. So that's a very specific rule that wouldn't really give a lot of wiggle room for lots of, homes.
I have a question about Portland because I was just up there and they did something kind of weird. Like me and my wife were we were not uncomfortable with it, but it was weird. Like at the very end of our stay, they asked for they asked for our license plate on our car, which I didn't really care. I gave it to them only because it was a rental anyway. But if it was my personal, I don't know if I would have gave them that. Is that like a rule up there or what?
Yeah. So they have to do these log books to keep records for the city that can be audited at any time. So they do have some additional regulations because they are very concerned about, the housing crisis. They feel, I don't necessarily feel this way, but they feel that houses are just being scooped up and thousands of people are Airbnb and taking away the affordable housing. So that's kind of why they're being so vigilant about that.
Well, here's the thing with that. I mean, y'all got like a crap load of land out there, right?
Yeah.
Trees and stuff. And the hipsters love tiny homes and they love tree houses. So why don't you just throw those everywhere, Problem solved.
It's expensive to start up. I mean, like I heard you guys talking about some of the ways that you use your investments to leverage into multiple properties. I mean, out here they did a recent study on how long it takes the average person to save up 20% down, and it's 20 years. If they were to save up like the traditional 20% down, it's like forever. The age of first home purchase is like 36 years old. I mean, it's silliness, like the cost benefit analysis of buying a house right now, at least up here.
And so what, like I said, if you have so much land, I mean, couldn't they just start building more houses? Am I just looking at it too simplistically?
Well, actually with our homeless crisis, there's actually enough places to house them if all the vacant properties were turned into something I don't know. I think it's just greed, honestly. Like, yes, there's enough places to put our homeless people. They just choose not to. They'd rather just leave it vacant and dilapidated than like make an option. So.
Yeah, I've even noticed Portland had homeless issues before I even left. So
yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Just like Austin.
Do they?
Yeah, just like Austin. Austin's very similar to it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you. So how long have you been doing Airbnb?
So I have been doing Airbnb since August of 2017. So almost 2 years now.
Okay. And so kind of, I'll let you, because I have questions about how you do your setup. Kind of tell them I think pretty much what you told me about how you set up your Airbnbs and how you do it.
Yeah. So I bought this house. I bought a short sale and I bought it in a fancy suburb, sort of hoping to get that equity. And really my dream initially when I bought my house in 2013 was to pay it off and move on to the next house. So I didn't want to be house poor. I just wanted to slowly accumulate real estate. And the Airbnb thing wasn't on my radar even a little bit. I was thinking long-term once the house was paid off. But I don't know if you guys were part of the whole like craziness 2 years ago where that solar eclipse passed through a lot of the country in August 2017. So we were outside with my neighbor and she was like making fun of the fact that people were renting out like tent space in their backyard apparently. And they were just like talking about how they were going to Airbnb their house. And I was kind of like, It was just like one of those casual conversations where nobody really thinks anyone's going to act on it. But I went inside and I was like, oh, I'm going to rent out my house. I'm going to do that. So I did. I put it up on Airbnb like in July of 2017 for, getting ready for August. And our first booking was $4,000. So yeah, for a 4-night stay. How many nights? 4 nights. So, I mean, talk about hooked by the money, right? I was like, oh, we're in this. Like, we were sold immediately. So, I was thinking of it as a very short term, like maybe a one-time thing. And then we were just like, well, we can't turn down this money. So we turned it into sort of like this nomadic thing where like we rent out our whole house. And like right now, the bedroom that I'm in, this is at my mother-in-law's house, which she lives in Portland also. And she lives in like a really gigantic house. But so we just come and stay here, like when our house is rented. So we save money. Like it's the last week of my kids' school. Other times we would be gone. Right. So like the only reason we're here right now is because it's the last week of my kids' school. But like we're going to go to Seattle this weekend while we have renters. We go wherever. We've gone to Japan. We've gone to Spain. We've gone to England. And we have our house rented while we go do these trips. And it basically helps us fund our travel. So that's what we've basically used our money for, is we rent out our whole house and we hightail it out and take our kids on vacation.
That's smart. That is genius. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And y'all are homeschooling your kids?
No, so they go to a private school. They go to a Japanese immersion school. So we're able to like fund that because of our Airbnb and fund our travels. And yeah, it's awesome.
That's pretty crazy. Awesome. So you started during the eclipse thing, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny because so Mahogany still has family up there. And her uncle heard about Airbnb during the eclipse.
Did he? Yeah.
That's how he started doing it. He only did it for the eclipse.
Did he? Yeah.
He rented out a room, but he called her because he had her set it up or whatever. And he called her, like, I'm not getting any bookings. And we went and looked at his listing, and he put a bed up there with, sheets, bed, pillow. He had McDonald's cups all over his nightstand. I'm like, man, you got to put that up. Yeah, that's how a lot of he started doing it that way too. And I forgot he made a lot of money off of private rooms. I was like, $4,000. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy. And so you only rent the whole house out. You don't ever stay there and rent out rooms?
Correct. We've never done a home sharing situation.
Okay. Are you opposed to that or just weird with the family there?
Yeah, I mean, we have small girls. Our girls are 5 and 7, and I'm just not super cool with it. Like, and in our house just isn't, I can see how certain houses would maybe be okay, but our house isn't really shaped in a way that would make sense. So it's not like we started it for the money. Like we're fine. It's just like, this is just the icing on the cake. This is just like play money, honestly.
Right.
So
and
go ahead.
And now with you said they lifted the ban of the county next to y'all or the area next to y'all. Does that mean you think it's gonna affect you negatively?
So
get less bookings?
I'm kind of one of those things that it's like a rising tide, lifts all ships. So I just think, our house is unique in the fact that it will sleep as many as the county deems acceptable. So that's 15. So even though the city next to us now has lifted their ban, they still have to abide by the county, the bigger jurisdiction's laws. And the laws there say 15 people. So our house accommodates 15. And before, I don't know, it's just, even if a house could accommodate 15, I think a lot of people are not willing to do that. So the fact that we're one of the, handful of places that's willing to rent to the maximum, I think we're pretty set. We're okay.
Nice.
So you said, pretty much you rent out your house, and when you rent out your house, you go to your mother-in-law's or somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, because me and my wife are thinking about doing that, but like, are you skeptical about people staying in your place while you're gone, or are you like a minimalist? Like, we can just pack up a few things and we can just go and it's easy, or how's that work?
Yes. So I actually became a minimalist just 1 month prior to that eclipse, because like around that time is when that documentary went on Netflix called The Minimalist. And Netflix was like, we recommend that you watch this. And I said, okay, I love documentaries. So I watched that. So I started down that path of becoming a minimalist. And then I had the Airbnb conversation with my neighbor. I put my thing on Airbnb. And then the week after that, I actually met Joshua, who is one of the 2 minimalists at an airport. And when I met him at the airport, I was like, it's a sign. Like, this, it's telling me to do this. So I kept down the minimalist path. And now I would say we're like, basically, we're minimalists, and we can just like hightail it out of there. We kind of have a go bag ready. And our house is pretty non-personalized, item wise. I mean, we have toy boxes for our kids and stuff, but we don't have a lot of things that normal people have.
That's good.
So would you tell Josh from the Minimalist, wait a minute, you got 2 bags. What are you doing with 2 bags? It's overkill.
I told him how much he inspired me, and that, he had inspired my Airbnb. But at that time, I didn't have any good news to tell him. Like, hey, I just got a $4,000 booking. I had just put the listing up like 2 days prior. And so then the week after, when I got that huge booking, I just felt like everything was just clicking. And I said, sometimes life is just showing you that this is the path. And I just felt like it was the path. So I just kept going. And like I said, this is fun money for us. So I actually wasn't like counting my cash at the end of that year until somebody was like, hey, you've been doing that Airbnb thing for a while. How's that going? And I was like, well, I don't really know. I just spend it all, right? So then I looked, and my first year I made $41,331. And I'm still going. So I started, and part of the reason that Myka and I were talking is I started an e-course teaching other homeowners how to do this with their primary homes. So people don't understand this concept. They're like, where do you go? What do you do with your stuff? Those are the questions I get all the time. Yeah. So I created a whole e-course called the Homeowner Hustle that teaches people how to turn their homes into this income stream to make it so that you can do what you want, pay for retirement or pay off your house or travel or whatever. I just travel.
How do I access this course?
Homeownerhustle.com.
Homeownerhustle.com.
Yeah, homeownerhustle.com.
And use keyword LLT and you get a discount, right?
Oh, you want me to set up a coupon code? Hey, I haven't done that. I just do my affiliates, but yeah, I could totally set up a code for you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll advertise you on our show notes.
Ooh, cool. Yeah. I love the sharing economy. I mean, you guys you're pitching all sorts of sharing economy. I think it's just fantastic. The whole thing. I mean, as I've been, blogging about this experience, I've run into so many other things like neighbor.com where you can like rent out your attic space. There's probably other ones, but
hold on, what's it called?
It was called neighbor.com. Neighbor, like instead of, renting out a storage unit, you rent out like someone's extra attic or whatever. So there's
like
so
your
much
storage stuff.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to like leverage your space and the items you already have. You guys talk about Turo and different ways to rent out, items.
Ooh, you got to look at this. I'm on neighbor.com. That's actually pretty smart.
There you go. There's a tip. You got to minimize though so that you have the space to let people put their crap.
Yeah, that's crap. Everybody's got an attic, man. You can put whatever you want up there. I don't care as long as the AC's still kicking.
So the homeowner hustle, I guess you started it because you were getting bombarded with all kinds of questions about Airbnb. I reckon. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said, I'm gonna just make me a website, make me a little course, make me a little money. Yeah. Could you give out some free tips to some of our listeners that are contemplating doing Airbnb? Either I don't know if you give out home share tips, but do you is it mostly just renting out the whole house or the whole?
Yeah, I mean, I do touch on home sharing also, like for empty nesters, because some of my target audiences are going to be like empty nesters. But a lot of who I'm catering to is people like me, people with young families who just are, I mean, I don't want to say like they're house poor, but they're a little house poor. They don't have that disposable cash to do the fun stuff with their kids that they would maybe want to. And if they just tweak their lifestyle a little bit, one of the first things that I created before I had the course was I created this guide called the 11 Essentials Guide, which is on my website. And basically it just is all the junk you need to buy so that you don't have to buy it and return it to Amazon like I had to. Like you buy a comforter and it's too thick, and you buy pillowcases and they're too scratchy, and you buy all this junk and you're just like, oh my gosh, I just want some stuff to put on the beds, right? So I bought all this stuff and I ended up returning and doing a whole back and forth. So I just put the junk that I actually stuck with in a guide called the 11 Essentials Guide, and that's sort of my freebie on my website. So that way they don't have to like waste money and time on the wrong stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Go check it out, y'all. The 11 Essentials. Get your Airbnb up and running today.
Totally. I kind of say it only takes 30 days to do the kind of Airbnb that I like to do. It really only takes 30 days to pull all your junk out of the closets, have a massive garage sale to kind of minimize, because that's what a lot of minimalists do to like get on that road, is like you feel attached to your items. You want to make something, make some money from those items. So you take everything out, you throw a massive garage sale, you kind of make it so that your space isn't as cluttered. And that's just good for Airbnb guests. They're not wanting to walk into a bunch of stuff they could break, or like, it's just awkward if it's too personalized, right? So now that it's summer, this is the perfect time for people to start doing that. Like pull your stuff out, do your garage sale. 1 week later, you can be taking some photos of your place, popping it up on Airbnb, and like you can still get summer rentals for your place.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So you're a minimalist doing this, a newfound minimalist. So a couple of years ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anyways, so you have this house that you use on Airbnb, and when people are staying there, you're staying somewhere else. But it's I guess the easy part would be to have the garage sale, get rid of a bunch of junk. But how do you stop? What do they call it? Stuff creep, or how do you stop from just because it's so easy? Just it's on our phones. You mentioned Amazon. You just push a button and you got whatever you want. Yeah. And how do you stop that from coming back into your house, to cluttering it up again?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but I think my girls, now that they're a little bit older, they just we chant, experience is not things, experience is not things. And so if we're in Target and they want to get some junky plastic toy, I'll just point to them and be like, what are we? What are we? And they're like, minimalists, Mom, we're minimalists. So now I've got my little crew of people who are like helping me like stay accountable to not buy the huge consumer driven products. I mean, we don't need that. And my kids love going on trips. So when I'm able to take them to Japan, and we just got back from Italy and Switzerland and France, and they love that. And they would rather go to Disneyland Paris than, get a junky Target toy. So I think they're on board with the concept because they understand the money's being diverted to something like that.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because Josh and Ryan. Josh and who's the other guy? Ryan Nicodemus. Yeah. I love those guys. They're cool guys. I listen to their podcast.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. They're awesome. But they give a lot of great advice. And but neither of them has kids. One of them has a stepdaughter, and they're teaching her things. But a lot of it, like, to me, I'm like, 'cause I got kids, and I'm like, man, it sounds great, and I try for me, but I got a wife and kids, and so it's it's a little difficult. But like you said, like get that chant started, or when they're not in their room, just throw away all their stuff without them looking, right?
Absolutely. And we really tried to position it like we're doing good. So we had them donate things, and my best friend, she works at a low income school, and so when we donated things, she would text us back and be like, here's who got those things. Like, we just donated some clothes last week, some summer clothes, and she said, I just gave them to a little girl who's never had girl clothes. They've only had their older brother's hand-me-downs, and those kinds of things. I am trying to teach my kids, just because we have stuff doesn't mean we need to be greedy. So I think there's so many lessons in minimalism, like teaching your kids those things and letting them understand the value of money and not wasting, and how good it is for the environment to not have junky plastic toys that we throw away constantly.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And one more question on it's hard to say. The minimalists. One more question about that, and then we'll jump off to the other stuff, because probably our fans are like, okay, get to that.
I know. Money. Let's talk about money.
And anyways, so you're minimalist, but do you see yourself accumulating more houses to do this, to expand your business? And do you see that as a contradiction to you staying minimalist?
No, I think the idea of minimalism is not to have only 100 items or the number of items that can fit in a backpack. I think the idea of minimalism is to create a life where you enjoy experiences over possessions. And so a house, yes, it's a possession, but it's a means to an end. Like, we have to have money to survive, and we have to have money to feed our kids and have the experiences. And so a group of guys like the minimalists, they make their money on pitching minimalism. But real people who I'm not pitching, I love minimalism, but I'm not making any money from pitching minimalism necessarily. I'm making money from teaching people how to Airbnb. And minimalism is a vehicle to get to that.
I like that.
Wow. I like that too. Yeah.
All right, Myka, bombard her with questions. Get to the meat and the bone.
Oh, one question I did have for you was because you were talking earlier, and you said something about your neighbors are sometimes a problem. How have you handled that? What kind of problems have they presented?
Oh, yeah. So my neighbors, the neighbor that initially started the whole idea of when I became an Airbnb host, she has been the biggest problem. She hates the fact that I Airbnb. Like she poses like she's like, love everybody. And she's got the, you know, that American flag thing in her yard that's like, you know, talking about how she loves everybody. You know, the one I'm talking about, the famous sign where it's like, we love diversity and we love all. She does not. She does not love any of those things because she's honestly, like, it turns out she hates young people. She hates any minority because those are when I get the complaints. And I'll check the camera and like, they're doing nothing. They're just existing, just like how I exist in my home. Like I enter the home, I go inside, I cook. Those are the things that people are doing. And she hates it. So she has, instead of speaking to them, this is what irritates me the most. Instead of speaking to them, if they're bothering her in whatever way, just by existing, she instead is more comfortable filming them. She pulls out her cell phone and she films them. And then she texts me about it. And I'm like, did you speak to the other human being? Because they're like 5 feet away from you. Like you went out into the middle of the street to film another human being and you didn't use words. Like we're adults. And she was like, it's your house. You need to control them. And I said, it's 2 p.m., ma'am. There's nothing I need to control about anybody. Everybody is fine. So I think that there's busybody neighbors and there's just really nothing I can do. Like people on host groups are always saying like, oh, you should try to get her on your team. And it's like, this lady is not on my team. She's not, like, she is horrible. She's a nasty person. And I don't think we can avoid that. You know, people have their opinions about Airbnb and I do believe in property rights, and not in the way a politician believes in property rights. Like, it's my property. I should be able to do what I want as long as it's not illegal. Mm-hmm. And making Airbnb illegal is just ridiculous. So that's just unfair, but it's just, I don't know. I think neighbors are just, I think they're mad they didn't think of it. I don't know.
Teach her how to do it herself.
Yeah. I've always come to the conclusion, like every neighbor that I've seen has a problem with it. They are in that older crowd, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I guess they're just retired, bored, have nothing to do. So they
have nothing better to do. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this is just sort of a digression, but I do want to mention one of the things that became a huge problem for me as a result of this woman is she used my Airbnb listing photos and she then turned them into the tax office of our county. And my taxes got raised by $1,000 last year. Mm-hmm. And when I called the tax office to say, why did my taxes get raised? They said that you are required to report to the tax office upgrades that you do, even if they don't require a permit. And I said, I know a lot of humans that own homes and nobody has ever told me that. And they said, well, that tile is obviously not original from the home. And that toilet is obviously new and modern. And that vanity is, and I said, but ma'am, none of those things require permits. And she said, it doesn't matter. As a homeowner, you're required to tell the tax office and you did not. And I said, I wasn't trying to be malicious, but this woman maliciously used those photos to show the tax office. Just for homeowners out there, if they have nasty neighbors, I don't know, protect yourself in some way by not letting them know.
That's insane. That's insane. Have you ever got bad reviews from guests because of her?
I mean, in the private notes section, people will sometimes be like, you know, your neighbor cursed me out or whatever. But in general, I generally say to my guests things like, you know, I left out popcorn for your kids to have a movie night, or I left out wine for you ladies for your, you know, weekend away. And just so you know, my across the street neighbor is pretty crazy. So I do apologize for that in advance. So I kind of alert my guests to that ahead of time so that they're not just like blindsided if they get cursed out. So that's kind of my way to avoid the bad reviews, and I haven't actually gotten technically marked down for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What What kind of guests do you attract over there? What kind of guests does your house attract?
Fantastic guests. I attract the best guests ever. Seriously, I have been so lucky. I attract families. So because we house 15, I attract a lot of like, this week, it's my sister's family's from Montana. We're from Houston, and we're meeting here in Portland to hang out. So, it's like 2 4-person families meeting, and they don't want hotel rooms. Obviously, they want a house. I attract things like soccer teams, church groups, work retreats, things like that. But all just amazing, awesome guests. One time, I had somebody who's a rapper, and he was doing a performance, and I looked him up afterwards, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's like a real rapper who gets like people to buy tickets. That was kind of fun.
What was his name?
His name was Saba, Saba. He's out of Chicago.
Ah, Saba.
Yeah. Saba.
I'll look him up.
Yeah.
Me too. Now I have a question, because you list that 15. Have you had troubles with parties, or no, not really?
I mean, not to the best of my knowledge. I feel pretty confident that my neighbor would alert me if there was a party.
Oh yeah.
And
true.
I mean, there's been like, a group of firefighters who are there for a bachelor party, but I walk in and it's cleaner than when I'm using it as my own house. So like as a host, I'm not tripping about that. Yeah. I don't care if you had a bachelor party, as long as you're not breaking anything or whatever. I mean, I have people over to my own home and it's not illegal. Yeah. So.
See, that's the thing. That's how I like, because I hear about that in so many of the groups. They sit there and just monitor their cameras, sit there and watch the guests. I'm like, what's the point?
I say, go get a hobby. You have a new income stream. Go get a hobby. I have literally only checked my camera 2 times in 2 years, because get a hobby. Like, it actually makes me uncomfortable looking at the camera. It's there for backup peace of mind if there's an actual problem, like someone steals your television, but not for you to like watch them walk in and out. Like, ew, that's so weird.
That really is. It's funny.
That is weird. All right, so you're up in Portlandia.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what about are you 420 friendly?
I mean, like, my house is, like, not in, I prefer if they don't smoke inside just because of my kids. I mean, I know I'm not one of those weird hosts who, like, freaks out, because I know that cigarette smoke actually sticks way worse than marijuana smoke. You can just open the doors for marijuana. It's not in, like, an hour. It's not a huge deal, but I do prefer if they smoke outside. But, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be 420 friendly when, it's legal. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, recreationally legal. That is a good question. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So me and Myka got to go do a little tour of Portland. We might need a place to stay.
Yeah.
I was asking for a friend though.
Well, that's actually how I found out that guy was a rapper, because my brother works at a pot shop, and he was like, hey, yeah, this rapper came in the other day, blah, blah, blah. And he was doing a performance. And I was like, oh, I think I had a musician staying at my house who was doing a performance. And he knew the guy's name, because it wasn't him who booked it. It was like his roadie or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we made that connection because of marijuana. So apparently he went to my brother's shop and bought a bunch of weed, and then came back to my house.
So your brother's a hustler too.
Yeah. Yes.
Hold on. He owns a dispensary?
No, he was the manager of a dispensary.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I may want to invest in too.
Is it? Hey, it's a good business.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that in any economy, that'll be going up.
Everybody's saying gummy bears are all the rage now.
Gummy bear? Like edibles?
Edibles, yeah.
Yeah.
Edibles will take you there, man.
Yeah.
They won't let you down easy, from what I hear.
Yeah.
So you love Airbnb. Are you on a HomeAway? I'm sorry, VRBO, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
You any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a listing on Booking.com and VRBO, and I think, what is it, Flipkey, all of those. But honestly, every time I get a booking request on those, it just seems like scams. Like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I see that other people are booking using those, but every one that I get seems to be that conversation where it's like, I want to prepay for $1,000 over your rate. And I'm like, why, how does this even happen? So, I mean, I guess my decline rate on those is like 100% because I've never actually completed a booking through any of them. I just maybe do one message back and forth and then I realize, nope, can't do this.
Do you have Instant Book on?
On Airbnb?
On both Airbnb and HomeAway?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because what I found out on HomeAway, when you have on Instant Book, you usually get the legit guests then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have it on Instant Book, but I don't monitor those ones as much as I monitor Airbnb in terms of, like I heard one of you guys is using one of the pricing things. I use Beyond Pricing. But I think I heard on one of your podcasts that you don't like Beyond Pricing. Somebody said you should use something else.
Yeah. I was telling people to use Price Labs. I still use Beyond Pricing for some of my listings, but the rest of them, it's all Price Labs.
Yeah, I like using Beyond Pricing, and I don't monitor the pricing on those other ones, so I'm sure my rate on the other platforms is looking a little high.
No pun intended.
Keeps you booked.
So, about how big is your house and how many bedrooms and bathrooms?
So I only have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, which sounds like a common size house that you guys do. What I did that was unique is that we did built-in queen size bunk beds. So like one bedroom actually has a queen over queen. So there's 4 queen beds in 2 built-in bunk beds directly into the wall.
That is cool.
And then another room has a queen over queen built-in bunk bed. And then we have our master. So basically my 2 girls' rooms have these massive sleeping quarters. So, it actually sleeps more than 15. Like if people look at how many beds are in the house and they're like, look, she has a pull-out couch and she has queen, crib and like everything. But I'm only allowed to put that I can sleep 15.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's awesome. I heard, I listened to a podcast. It just came back. They went on hiatus for a little bit called Shampoo and Booze. I don't know if you heard of them. Okay, they're another Airbnb podcast. Shout out to them. They were on our show one time.
Yep.
Anyways, she mentioned this. It's her and her sister now, and she was talking about on her show that they have bunk beds, but they're adult bunk beds. It goes they're made them out of this really nice oak, and they built them into the wall. So I was like, adult bunk beds, is that a thing now? The only bunk beds I knew was kids' bunk beds, and then, traveling Europe in hostels, and I stayed in some crappy bunk beds over there. Like, wow, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, because you said you had them built. Like, did you buy them or you just had them built? Because that's been my problem with bunk beds. I'm like, I can't have no.
No, you have a contractor build them. If my Airbnb listing can be found at just rentme.vip. I did a custom URL for it, so it's rentme.vip. And so it's literally like. I don't know what it's called. It's got like spackle on it. Like it's literally built in. It's like a wall and it's just cut out. It's pretty cool.
Man, I like that bathroom.
Awesome.
I like your house.
Oh, he's looking up here. Yeah. Rentme.vip.
Yeah, rentme.vip.
Oh man, this is so home right here. I can look at all these trees by your house. Like,
well, here's one of the things. If you're looking at my listing, here's one of the things that I want to instill in anyone thinking about doing Airbnb. Is your home does not have to be perfect. Yep. A lot of the people who were coming to me when I decided to do the e-course is they would say things like, well, my home's not like your home. And I'm like, I have, chips in my wall. I have missing molding. It's a regular home. I'm not like a Hilton. There's elements of my home that are very nice, but there's a lot of it that's pretty regular. You see the dead grass in my photos. I say like the outdoor space is like not really safe because we've been doing construction on and off for 2 years. Like it's not like I live in some mansion, it's a regular ranch style house. So when people are thinking, oh, I can't do it because my house isn't ready yet, it's ready. Like it can be ready by this weekend. If you just, it's not like it has to cost $10,000 to get it ready. Just go buy some sheets, throw them on your beds, and you're good.
Dude, I love your kitchen. That is a nice kitchen. Like I like that modern look you have to it. And then like you don't have cabinets. I like that. Like there's no cabinets. You say that's open. Oh man, I'm considering doing that myself. I like that kitchen. Yeah, we'll definitely have to share your listing in the show notes. That is a really nice kitchen.
So where did you get your furniture from, Veronica?
Yeah, I mean, a variety of places. Like my bedroom furniture is from Dania, which Dania is super like eco-friendly and, you know, into sort of like the minimalist type of style. And then like my couch is a Stanton couch, which you can get anywhere, but it's custom. And they have like, if you're researching pull-out beds, that's like the nicest pull-out bed on a couch is Stanton. And my kitchen that you're loving on, I didn't put that in, the previous owners did, but I know for a fact it's IKEA. So there you go. It looks all fancy, but it's IKEA. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm just a regular person. So like my dining room table is like my grandma's dining room table. And I just throw a tablecloth over it because it's like really crappy. So it doesn't have to be perfect or brand new. Like it's just, I don't know. The couch in my one of my kids' rooms, it's kind of like a playroom / bedroom. Was like a hand-me-down from my sister-in-law, you know, like I'm just a regular person. It's not all new.
You make it work.
Totally.
I'd rather have like real furniture than if they do try to go a certain cheap, I don't know, too modern where it's not even comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
right. And Ross, dude, if you're trying to outfit an Airbnb, I am 100% on the Ross train. Like every single picture up in my house is from Ross. I leave the price tags on the back so that if like, cause I advertise like someday I want Ross to like, you know, like make me an influencer. Cause I'm like, I love it. Ross is so awesome.
Yeah, we did one of our places downtown Dallas straight up off Ross. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the prices are so incredible.
Yeah, Mahogany's works of magic out of Ross, so yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned influencer, and that's a big thing now. Do you have I'm sure you have an Instagram, right?
I do have an Instagram. The problem is, you know, I don't know how to run a business like this. This is so random. So my Instagram is just our travel photos. I mean, I don't really integrate. I mean, I maybe mention in the comments that we're on this vacation because of Airbnb and that kind of thing. But basically it's just my kids and like Paris and crap.
Just Paris and crap, you know, yeah. No big deal. NBD. Yeah. So, you watch Portlandia?
I don't. I mean, okay. I did it the first season, but then not so much.
I don't really watch
TV.
Okay.
I don't watch TV. I don't have cable.
Portlandia is a show. It's a comedy, little comedy on Comedy Central. Is it Comedy Central?
Yeah,
I believe it's Comedy Central, one of those. And it's the guy, he's an ex-Saturday Night Live dude and this girl, and they just do sketch comedy. It's hilarious. And they make fun of, you know, the hipster type environment in Portland. And one episode mentioned this guy that sold pull-out sofas, and he was the pull-out king.
Oh,
and then,
really?
But it gets funny because the other guy's like, no way, I'm the pull-out king.
Oh, that's funny.
So I thought you might have seen that episode.
I had not. That was funny. I'll have to look.
So look up Portlandia, pull-out king. And
okay.
Laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. I mean, you have an awesome place, and $283 per night. That's wow. That's good money right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's without you plugging in dates. So it just sort of
yeah.
Here's one of the ways that I because of my method, I will ask my friends nearby, like, what dates are you going on a trip? What dates are you going on a trip? And I will go in and I'll edit my calendar so that on all the dates where I know I can stay at my best friend's house, I just make the rate super low. Because, like, I don't know what our travel schedule is going to be like, but I do know that I can stay there for free and I can make, like, whatever, and it's just free money on my house. So I edit my prices accordingly.
You need to talk to my wife, because I'm like, I had the same idea. We just moved into this house. You know, we got a 2-story house with a pool and stuff. Really, really cool. And I was like, we should rent it out when we go out of town.
Totally.
It's our house and this and that. I'm like, man, it's a money-making machine is what it is.
Totally. So, it is. I mean, the main thing is just get different sheets. I mean, we have different sheets and different duvets. So it's not like, and we have different towels. Mm-hmm. We have our regular personal towels and the renters have their own towels. But come on, we all stay at hotels. I mean, we share sheets after they've been washed all the time. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Here.
Oh, go ahead.
I was looking at your cleaning fee. You charge $300 to clean. Like, has that deterred anybody, or are they cool with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just answered a question on Quora, I think it's called, the other day about the cleaning fee, because people feel like it's, people who charge high cleaning fees, they think it's some sort of scam, like we're just like rolling in the dough. But the reality is that to have a 2,000 square foot house cleaned in Portland costs $150, right? Like that's just the hourly fees piled up. It's $150. And then when you have as many beds as I have, because I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 beds plus towels, which, we could go through 30 towels in a week. There's no way that my personal washer and dryer could turn that over.
Yep.
In 5 hours, right? My renters check out at 11 a.m. and my next ones check in at 4 p.m. Like on Friday, we're going to be doing this exact process because we have a checkout and a check-in same day. So a regular washer and dryer can't handle that. And the fee to have someone come and pick up like 50 pounds of towels and crap and take them to a commercial laundry place and do that and drop them back off is $150. So 150 plus 150, we're looking at $300, and I just made it $297 to make it look fancy. Like, that's really the only logic there. But that's how much it costs if you want a house clean. If you want the oven cleaned and the microwave wiped out and the refrigerator cleaned before you arrive. That's just reality.
I need to raise my cleaning fee.
Two words for you, Veronica.
What is it?
Febreze.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just
just Lysol that stuff. Just Lysol it.
How about tell your guests, I'll give you $100 off if you clean the house for me.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just crazy how much can get dirty in a house versus, hotel rooms are created to be sort of mass production cleaned easily. But I mean, they're like I just went and took the trash out at my house because I'm like 10 minutes away from my house. So I went and took the trash out yesterday night, and my kids were in the car because I had picked them up from school. And she said that the little boy was like licking the window as I'm like, you can't, there's just so much to clean. Little kids are licking windows, and there's mirrors everywhere, and we have stainless steel. I mean, I don't know. There's so much to clean. I do not fault, like my cleaning lady. I just can't imagine. I've tried to do those bunk beds by myself. It is a freaking nightmare. I mean, I'm not like a skinny girl, but climbing into a queen size bunk bed 8 times in a row, like to clean, to turn over sheets, not easy. Not easy.
Oh, no. I never thought about that. Yeah, part of climbing in them and cleaning it, and getting. Oh man,
totally.
So, have you had guests hit when they reach out to you? Do they say, "Hey, can I get like a break or something on a cleaning fee?" Or do they ask for like discounts?
If a guest asks for a discount, you know what I say? No.
I like you. There you go. No.
Because no is a complete sentence. And you know as well as I do, you've read enough stories, or you've probably experienced this with as many listings as you have. The people who are looking for the breaks are the worst guests.
Yep.
They are just so demanding and needy. Even the people who book my place when it is on a lower rate, I can tell. They do rate me down for like location or whatever. And I'm like, I live in a suburb. Like whatever, I don't care. But my overall is still like a 5. But those people, you can tell they're just like, well, where's this? Or I don't know. Those people frustrate me. I'd rather rent fewer nights for higher price and have clients who are not weird.
Now, location's one of those things is kind of stupid to me because you book the place. I mean, totally. You know where it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I've been real stickler about location, but unless you like, I do have Airbnbs that are in corners of not so good neighborhoods. They're in the back of them, so it's not like you're, but yeah, I understand that part. But yeah, It's my 2 cents on location.
Yeah, that's a stupid thing to rate on. I agree.
So now going back real quickly to the discount asking people, in defense of my discount asking peeps, and it's I've Airbnb'd obviously, and recently had to stop because they banned it in my city. But anyways, do you listen to other podcasts? Because there's one called Tim Ferriss. It's pretty popular. You ever listen to him?
I just listened to one other one. I'm pretty minimal.
Live, Let, Thrive, right?
That's the line. How did you know?
You're like, who are these cussing mofos on this? I got kids. Anyways, I heard like a really smart business guy go on there, and he said, always ask for a discount. He goes, no matter where you go. He said, go to Home Depot, go to Starbucks, go whatever. You just always ask, can I get 10% off? And the point is, it's just getting you to be a better negotiator in business, in life, whatever. And it's not even about the discount. He goes, the worst thing they can say is no. Mm-hmm. And so even before I heard that, I always kind of lived like that. I said, well, the worst thing they could say is no. If I started looking, okay, I'm going to go to Miami. I'll look up like 10 different listings that I like, maybe narrow it down to like 5, and then I'd send them messages. Hey, we're coming in on this date. We love your place. Compliment the heck out of them. I said, is there any way, for those dates we could get like a little discount, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of them would say, no, we can't do that. Every now and then someone would say, oh, I'll waive the cleaning fee. How's that? Cool. And like, it goes, I was not a terrible guest. I left their place spotless, but I know there's probably people that are. And I'm just saying that it just goes to show you never know until you ask, right?
Yeah.
So in defense of my discount askers.
I think the reason that I'm pretty against that is because when I was in college, I worked at a furniture store, and there would always be articles about how, you should always ask for a discount on the furniture, especially since it's such a variable secret price that they add up the fabric and whatever. And there's wiggle room. And there's wiggle room in everything, right? Everything from the plumbers that come to your house to the physical items that you buy. But one thing that I've noticed about America specifically is how little we value people's work. Like, people in this country, I just feel in general don't get paid enough for the value that they provide. And so I would never want to belittle somebody on the money that they deserve to make. I believe that they deserve to make it. And so even at some place like Home Depot, those employees aren't getting paid crap. So when they give a 10% discount, it just jacks up the structure. And I don't know, I just feel like more people should be thriving, and they're just not. And so I try to do math sometimes when I'm out and about, and I'll be like, how much should it cost to do this service? And I'll be like, I don't understand how they're doing it for this cheap. Like me, I overestimate how much people deserve to be making for these things. So I guess that's just my mentality. I just feel like everyone deserves to be paid more, and this country is just not providing as much as it should for the people who work their asses off.
Talent is underappreciated, and I like that.
That is cool. That is cool. One quick thing about Home Depot. I don't know why I brought it up, but then you brought it up. But I worked there. I worked there for just about a month. I was just trying to. I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to make a little bit more money for this or something. I don't remember. Weed probably. But
you know.
But anyways, they put us through this cool little training course and stuff, and oddly enough, they showed us this video cassette. This is how long ago it was. They put a video cassette in of the Pike Place guys, the Seattle, the ones that throw the fish and all that stuff.
I've read that book.
Yeah, and they make this corporate video that all the Home Depots, but back then a lot of companies would buy this video, and it just showed how their business was, how they related to the people, and the people became part of the business, and they just became, it was about their brand, about, just being awesome. Yeah. And so anyways, they showed us this video and stuff. And by the way, that video, the lady was training us, said it cost $2,000 for this cassette. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. But anyways, I could bootleg them for 10. But I'm getting off course, but I'm bringing it back. Veronica. Okay, so the Home Depot thing, she told us, many people don't know this, but we give all of our employees the power to give 10% discount if someone asks them at the store. And so anything above 10%, let's say they're trying to buy this thing and it has like a ding on it, you know, of course it's going to be cheaper, but a manager would have to approve, okay, we'll give you 15 or 20% off. But anyways, every Home Depot employee has the ability, or did back then, to give a 10% discount to a customer asking for one. So there you go.
Yeah. But who's making the money in the Home Depot?
Is that why you only worked there for a month? You were saying yes to all the 10% off?
No, I worked there for a month.
They're giving that employee makes like $12 an hour, and they are giving him all this power. But I mean, I don't know. America's system's just weird. I mean, you got people who work in a store, they work so hard. I don't know. It's just a different way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah,
there's a different way to look at it. My way is the correct way. And
hey, you're getting a good deal. You're getting a good deal. There you go.
Now, if it's a mom and pop joint, and yeah, it's their money, their overhead. Yeah, okay. But Home Depot is a massive corporation.
Totally.
But anyways, so back on track. So I like what you said about the different stuff for renters. Is there like a closet or something you keep at your house that's just totally locked off where they can't get to, or what?
The only place I keep in my house that's locked off is my little attic space, like with the pull down ladder from the ceiling. Yeah, I've minimized basically everything else.
Wow.
Dang, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. I need to look into this minimalism life.
Yeah, it's different. But you know what's crazy is once one person does it, people around you do it. Like it's kind of it's like a little disease. Like you spread it around.
How Airbnb is.
Great analogy.
Yeah, I know. Do your friends do Airbnb now that you do Airbnb?
Not too well. I kind of just met a bunch of people that were interested in it.
Yeah,
people have been.
That's why I created the courses, because people will be like, I want to do that, and so then like people around me, it just started spreading. Like, I want to do an Airbnb, and I want to do an Airbnb.
Yeah, my parents are looking at doing, because they manage one of mine that's out of state in Arkansas. Yeah, and so I mean they want to do it now. They're looking for a house to do it. So yeah, it's people that they start to hop on, especially like how they kind of see how the one that they're managing works. They're like, dang, you can really make money doing this. So yeah, they start on it too.
Well, I started because Myka told me about it.
Yeah? Were you guys friends? You guys were friends beforehand?
Well, we met through Bigger Pockets. You've heard of Bigger Pockets? It's like a real estate website plus podcast and all that stuff. Check into it. It's really good. Okay. So anyways, we met through that. Like they have like a little, I don't know, Facebook page, but it's like kind of just their thing. And I still do a stock investing club. And he said, he wanted to come sit in on that. He's talking about all these weed stocks. And but he mentioned he did Airbnb and he's making a killing. I was like, oh snap, you know. And so we just started talking about it, and I turned my house into an Airbnb, and I moved to another house, and that was like my first. I just jumped into it. I mean, he convinced me the money was good, and I was like, well, worst comes to worst, I just rent it out long term.
Right.
But so I said, well, let's do a podcast. I used to have a rock and roll podcast. I said, let's talk Airbnb. There wasn't very many Airbnb podcasts out there, and so I was like, I don't think there is very many.
No, there's not.
Yeah, so we started a podcast, and then I started my Airbnb. I was like, well, if I'm gonna talk about Airbnb, I might as well do it. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So yeah, it was a little bit bittersweet when I had to switch it back to long term, because they banned it in my city. But I'm looking for the next one.
That's so sucky. That's what I don't understand. Like when you have invested that money into buying a house, or in your case, you already had it and you moved on. I don't understand how these regulations come up and creep up, and then people aren't grandfathered in. Like, I was trying to think of other examples of that. Like, let's say a dispensary, like builds a building in a place where it's legal, and then like the next day there's a new legislation that they can't do it. Like, I can't believe that there's no recourse for people who have made a massive investment into something, and then they can just flip a switch. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and that is like, and I've been telling people, if you're gonna do it, like if you're gonna buy and do Airbnb, I would literally suggest you not look at laws and regulations, because those can change, I literally only go places where I know Airbnb pays the occupancy taxes, because I know for a fact the city more than likely isn't going to overturn anything, because that's been a problem. Like in the city of Arlington where I live, that was the problem. They were like, oh yeah, you can pay taxes to the city, which we were. You pay taxes to the city, and then they overturn everything. It's like, what? You know, and it gets real frustrating. So I send people this site. Matter of fact, let me just I'll share my screen and show you the site I look at. And this is like the guaranteed way of like how to pretty much avoid any of the regulation crap. I'll just use this. You guys can probably see my screen, right?
Yeah, and explain to the fans what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so pretty much what you're looking at is you go to this Airbnb. This is where Airbnb remits taxes in the state of Oregon, right? So this is what I use for anywhere I'm going to invest. There goes Portland, Lincoln City. You know, I just use this, and this is where I go. I'll go to this website, and bam, that's what I do.
Yeah.
So and I'm getting sick of it as well. You know, it's kind of, making up random rules, and the reasons for it are outlandish, and sometimes
outlandish. So. Well, okay, so here's another thing that was rolling around in my brain as they were doing this. So even though the city lifted the rules, and now that city right, 2 blocks from me can do Airbnb, now the county is exploring, like, should we put more restrictions or whatever. So it's like you've got multiple jurisdictions. And then I was saying to myself, listen, if I was just independently wealthy and I could just afford to pay a house sitter to come to my house every week while I go on these vacations, nobody would bat an eyelash that the stranger was in my house because I was paying her. Yep. But apparently the stranger danger of somebody paying me is too much to bear. Yep. It just doesn't make any freaking sense on any level. Like, you don't know me just because I bought the house next door. I'm still a stranger, just as much so as the renters that come in. So, yeah, all of it is just infuriating, right?
Goofy. Pisses me off.
It's easy for politicians to find something popular and just blame all the problems on that one thing, right? Mm-hmm.
Traffic. They say that traffic is caused by our Airbnbs. I'm like, I leave and somebody comes. Like, that's not causing any extra traffic.
Wow. Traffic.
Yeah. Well, so in our city, I actually did this because they said that at a meeting. They said, oh, your Airbnbs are causing traffic. So I went down our row of businesses and I asked every hourly employee at Subway and Safeway and Supercuts and all of those places, like, where do you live? And every single one of them said that they lived in the town of Gresham. There was like 2 that lived in Wilsonville, which obviously you're not necessarily familiar with. Yeah. It's 40 minutes away. Yeah. So every employee, basically, except for the 2 that lived south, every employee lived super far east, 40 minutes away. The fact that people can't afford to live where they work is what's causing traffic. Not my freaking Airbnb. If they could afford to live near where they worked at their crappy job, we would not have nearly the traffic. So I don't know. I'm not a politician, but y'all are blaming the wrong thing, and it's just
cost of living in Portland is insane. Like,
totally.
I left there 10, 11 years ago. I was like, oh heck no! Like, it's like the house I live in would probably be $1 million house just being in the city.
Oh yeah,
but it's crazy.
I mean, when we watch your like Atlanta or Houston House Hunters episodes, and we see the demands that people have and the price tags that they have, we're like, wait, you expect to have a roof for that price?
Yeah, there you go.
We can't believe the house prices in comparison. It's like, I bought a house that was so shitty. It was like, I mean, it was a short sale. It was like, I mean, barely habitable, but habitable for how poor we were at the time. And it was like, I mean, it was $262,000.
God.
And it was horrible. I mean, the floors were lifting, and there was dead trees all over the place, an in-ground swimming pool that wasn't permitted. I mean, there was just catastrophe after catastrophe, and it was a lot of money in comparison to what I know you can get other places.
Yeah.
Back to, like, I guess what we saw firsthand about cities banning it and stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, I mean, you've heard, not in my backyard, you know, that whole argument. Of course, mm-hmm. you live right next to a lady that says that crap.
Yeah.
But anyways, we go into the city council meetings. We saw like how many old people go to those things. Old retired people have a lot of power in your city because they go to those council meetings, mm-hmm. and they're barking at these council people and they're voting them in. And it's like us youngsters, well, we got jobs, we got families, we got whatever, school. And it's like we're not really participating in the local government level like the old mm-hmm. blue hairs are. You know what I'm saying? So they have a lot of pull in what goes on in our cities. So
totally. And I don't know if you guys watch, I mean, you guys are plugged into the industry, but I've been watching the Honolulu city council meetings because my husband applied for a job in Honolulu and we were kind of just tracking the situation over there.
Ooh, nice.
And Honolulu has got a very contentious fight happening for Airbnbs right now.
Yeah, they've had that for a while.
Have they?
Yeah, because I have some rental places I rent out over there, and
do you?
It's Hawaii. Like out of the United States, the toughest places I've seen are like Hawaii, New Orleans, and it's funny. My wife is going to an Airbnb in New Orleans tomorrow, so it works. But yeah, Hawaii, New Orleans. And then I just recently heard Detroit's coming down on Airbnb hosts. I'm like, the city ain't got nothing up in it. You need to let some Airbnb up in there.
Let somebody make some freaking money. Well, I mean, and the people who were testifying at the Honolulu one, they all worked for the big Hilton and Marriott, the big, those places. And they would say things like, I was homeless for 2 years because of Airbnb. And I've been working for Marriott for 37 years or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Made you homeless.
You've had a job for 37 years and you were homeless for 2 of that? That is not Airbnb's fault. That's the fact that your employer doesn't pay you a living wage.
Exactly.
The wrong person.
That's crazy.
I know. Anyways. We're just the little guy. We just want to make a buck. Come on.
Exactly. Well, Veronica, this has been a great interview, and we appreciate you coming on and enlightening us about renting your own house out, your own primary house, while you step out somewhere else. That's the cool. I mean, that's exactly what I want to do, and I know a lot of people want to do that. And I've had friends try the whole rent out of their own house thing. That that's the thing you were talking about. It spreads like wildfire, or you said like a disease. How you put it. But the thing is, then you get like hammered with all kinds of questions all day long, right?
Yeah.
Away from your friends. What do I do with this? What do I do? Look, I got a booking. What do I do? Well, freaking answer them. I don't know. it's like a double-edged sword.
I charge a consulting fee now. I'm $199 an hour, and then I'll answer all your questions. You get me for 1 hour.
Hold on. Nice. You charge $200 for an hour?
Yeah.
No, $1. What? No.
$199 an hour.
Oh, an hour.
My pricing rates.
That's my consulting rate.
And they pay that.
Yeah, because Portland's regulations are so complicated. People feel overwhelmed. And so I just basically explain it to them in dummy terms and like show them what they can do. And I can do that for $199.
That's not a bad deal if you're going to start up your own Airbnb.
Yeah.
I'm changing my rates right now. Hold on.
Hey, time is money. I know. I saw your rate and I was like, oh, that's low for the expert knowledge. I mean, what they're going to do with that knowledge is make money. So it's got a lot of value there.
Be an Airbnb coach, Myka.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Be an Airbnb life coach.
Airbnb life coach.
You can do it. Come on.
That's where the money is.
That's what I think I am.
Oh man, that's funny.
All right. Okay, give us your sites again so people can hit you up.
My overall brand is vacayvisionary.com. So if you go to VACAYVISIONARY.com, that houses, you can see my rentme.vip, my actual Airbnb listing. You can see my homeowner hustle e-course. You can see my freebies on there. It links to my Instagram. Everything's basically Vacay Visionary is like the head brand of everything I do.
Nice. Did you want to leave like a phone number too for your hotline, or you just leave it
no.
there? Okay.
Ain't nobody calling me. Ain't nobody calling. You can email me, and then if you're not creepy, I'll go ahead and give you a call. Do people call you? Do people call you?
No. I don't do that.
Well, we used to have a number. Back in the day.
Well, we still have one, but I changed it to Google Voice. It's a different number, but I changed it to Google Voice so people aren't just hitting you personal.
Up all the time.
Steve puts his personal out there.
I put my personal number on the show notes. I do, and I've got a couple calls and text messages. Not too much, It's weird, I have my personal phone number on there. But now that I'm announcing it, maybe someone will.
$100.
$100.
Hot. Can I hang out with you?
Might cause some at-home problems.
That's that. All the Airbnb groupies out there, yeah.
Yeah, I just changed my rate to $200 an hour.
Get it.
There you go.
This is awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, and we will, we'll promote the heck out of you for coming on. And any closing? You got well, I always ask the people that come on the show, if they have this one tip that you haven't heard anywhere else.
Yeah.
One of your a hot Veronica tip. Just something that Veronica, something you've discovered. If I do this, it's really cool.
Okay, so I think with all of my businesses, my main quote that I say to myself is, your mind is meant to be changed. Your heart is meant to be followed. So stop getting in your own way, follow your freaking heart, and just do some shit that's going to make your life good.
Damn, I like that. You know what? I heard a quote that's kind of like that. A little
Is it? What is it?
It was the heavyweight champ, the ex-heavyweight champ, Anthony Joshua. He said this. He said, don't let success get to your head, and don't let failure get to your heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
I like that quote you just said too.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Especially in America, our brain is poisoned with all these negative thoughts of how things are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you guys are just you're visionaries like me. We're there's a better way. We're going to make it. We care about our families, and we care about living our life to the fullest. And that's what these businesses and this whole sharing economy is all about, is making a life worth living and not living for the weekend. Do a weird setup where you're making money in all these different streams so that you can see your kids, so that you can really live instead of being chained to a job.
Did you say live, let, and thrive?
Yes. Live, let, and thrive. Exactly like the tagline.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Veronica. And we hope, we'll touch base with you again in the future.
Yeah.
And see how you're kicking more ass.
Yeah.
And Myka, got any closing thoughts?
No, catch us at liveletthrive.com. You can also catch me at sharebnb.com. Check out our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're about to really get the YouTube popped off with this new Zoom we got going on. So that's about it.
Oh, by the way, Anthony Joshua, you mentioned him. Looks like my cousin from that works at the car shop knocked his ass out. Sorry. That's a boxing thing, Veronica. Check it out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Veronica Hanson. Live, let, thrive. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.